Hello, everybody. I'm Sari Custer, Chief of Science and Curiosity at Arizona Science Center, and it is my distinct pleasure to welcome you to the Arizona Science and Engineering Fair's Career Corner. This is a series of short interviews with STEM professionals to learn a little bit more about their journey throughout their career. And today, for this episode, I am so pleased to have Prasanthi Sathyaprakash, Director of Global Operations at Syntiant Corp. So, Prasanthi, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to see you and to meet you virtually.
Well, this is a rare opportunity to get a chance to be one-on-one in chat. So I'm first just going to turn it over to you and say, tell the world about you and what is it that you do?
Okay, well, thank you again. My name is Prasanthi Sathyaprakash, and as you said, I work in Syntiant Corporation. I lead the global operations team, and I'm a mechanical engineer and have done my master's here in Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Did my industrial engineering and came into the semiconductors. And I've been building exceptional products now for Syntiant Corporation for the last 2.5 years.
Oh, wow. So how would you say you definitely have a very strong STEM career. How has STEM impacted your life?
Oh, it impacts my life every single day. As a matter of fact, it impacts your life and everyone's life every single day. I always say this where, we didn't get to the grocery store today or we didn't get to work today by walking. We actually, drove in a car. So believe it or not, STEM is everywhere. STEM impacts every single person. And with our phones and with the way we're connecting right now, it's just an absolutely fascinating field. So it's everywhere. It's in my life, and it's impacted my life in a very, very positive way, from a career standpoint, as well as from a personal passion perspective as well.
Well, you mentioned personal passion. So what is it that actually led to your career as an engineer?
That's a great question. I love sharing this story because when I was a child, I used to play with Legos a lot. So this was back in the early 80s, and I was born and brought up in India, where at that point of time, we did not have access to Legos as much as we do today. I wasn't the most organized kid, I must admit. I loved playing with Legos, but I was not organized enough in terms of keeping them together and not losing pieces. So I remember the times when I'd be building a house and I'd be almost done. And all of a sudden, I'm missing a window or a door or something like that. And I'd run to my parents and I'd ask them to take me to the store to buy me Legos. And they'd have to explain to me that no matter how good I am, no matter what I do that day, what my scores are in school or in sports, there is no way I'm actually getting my Lego piece because it was not made in India. So when they would explain to me back then, Legos aren't made in India, and curiosity would just make me ask, well, where is it made then? I just want to go there and I want to buy just that door or that window. And so, I was explained that things were not made in different locations, at least at that point. And the globalization in terms of manufacturing certainly was not as robust as it is right now. So, fast forward a couple years later, there was a fascination with computers all across globally, and I wanted a computer. And so, I went to my parents and I asked them if they would consider buying me a computer because I was going to be coding and I was going to be doing a lot of things with it. And my parents explained, they were so sorry. It's not that they don't want to buy it, they don't want to, encourage me, but it was mostly because they could not buy it in India at that point of time. It wasn't manufactured and it was going to be 6 months. And it was also very expensive. It was not for an average middle class family to go out and buy computers at that day and age. So made me wonder what I could do when I grew up and how I would be able to make these cool things and make it accessible for everybody. And that's how I said I wanted to get into mechanical engineering. Long story, it was balked on. People thought I was crazy as a female trying to get into mechanical engineering, and what are you going to do? And I just, I stuck with it. It was a very hard day when I had to choose what I was going to do. And, my parents supported me, but it was a long journey. And when I decided to come here to the United States for my master's in industrial engineering, that was balked on even more by a lot of people. But, here I am. I'm passionate about what I do, and I'm building exceptional artificial intelligence chips here at Syntiant Corporation. We are, um, the world's leading um, artificial intelligence company here, and I'm just excited to be here, part of the team, and build these things which are going to make everyone's life super exciting.
That's such an amazing personal story, and you work so hard, and you mentioned that a couple of times that you really love what you do. But can you tell me, what is it that you specifically love about engineering that gets you out of bed every day?
For sure. So, again, going back to my story of made in India and made in, for example, the US, or made in China, it doesn't matter, made in, that was really what was, the fuel behind everything that I was doing. And, very few people get to live that dream. And they always say the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. And truly, I just dreamt and dreamt that I'd be building these cool products, and every single day, that's what gets me out of bed. We're building these, in our chips, and Syntiant are the one we have in production that we're shipping in millions to our customers. It's a 1x4 by 1x8 millimeters. It is so tiny. It's
Tiny.
beautiful. So, that's what really gets me out of bed every single day. That excitement, that the fact that it's not just a small group of people, but the millions, the kids like me back in the day that wanted to have access to these things are finally going to have access to some really cool products. So excited.
That's amazing. Yeah, I heard you guys won some awards this year at the Consumer Electronics Show as well with those chips. So your processors are pretty impressive. And with all that, you're working towards some pretty impressive goals. One of the things we like to talk about with our students is, that there's also failures along the way to get to those great successes. So would you mind sharing a story about a time maybe when you made a mistake, failed early in your career, and how you learned from it?
Yeah, absolutely. They say failure is a stepping stone for success, right? And as an engineer, you're constantly doing things that, it doesn't work the first time around. And in life, it's the same thing. You're going to have to make course corrections through the process. So when I first started off in the industry, I worked as an intern for Advanced Micro Devices. And I was doing very well there. I was in the planning department, and then I got hired into the supply chain team, and I was learning so much, and I visited so many, many, many different factories. And through the process, I thought I was, at one point in time, ready to sort of, quote, get more into the technicalities of the product and not necessarily deep dive into the speciality of what I was offering onto the table. Well, it's just, one of those things where you want to perfect it. And I think also as female leaders, we're very much behind, the fact that we want to perfect everything. We want to know everything. We want to do everything right. And I think early on, I just digressed a little bit. I wanted to spend more time on the technicalities of the product itself. I mean, not a bad thing, but I think if I had to redo it, I would have just focused on the operational aspect of it and just mastered that, much early on than, kind of mid into my career. So again, nothing that you can't undo. And in a way, actually, it was great because I made my move from AMD to Broadcom Corporation at that point, and it was a great journey. So everything happens for a reason, and failure is truly the stepping stone for success.
That's some great advice already. Are there any last words of advice you might want to share with those who are thinking about pursuing a career in STEM?
Sure, never give up. Never, 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 ever give up. It doesn't matter what anybody says. If you're passionate about it, do it. If there is something that you need help with, ask. What's the worst that can happen? Someone's going to say no, but at least you asked. And believe in your parents, they're doing everything they can for you. And I think it's important to get their inputs, but if you truly feel that you're passionate about something, just do it. Don't give up. And hard work and sincerity, it's very, very important. It's important at home, at work, on the go. It'll take you places, and do everything with a smile, I guess. That's all I have to say.
This has all been great, great advice, great stories. I really appreciate your time. And Prasanthi, when we were talking earlier, you had suggested some resources for those who might want to look a little bit more about support or just dig deeper in STEM education. Do you have resources that students could go to?
So thank you for asking. I think one of the resources that I'd like to point out is the Broadcom Foundation website itself. The Broadcom Foundation team does an incredible job inspiring STEM throughout our world. They've been in Zimbabwe, they're in China, they're in India, they're in the United States, and it's a great program, a great site to go and just read to see what's happening globally. So that would be an absolute resource that I'd like to recommend for all of our students.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And that's all the time we have today. So if you're looking for more information about the Arizona Science and Engineering Fair, or more information about Arizona Science Center, or more great interviews like this, you can find more online at azscience.org. That's it for today's Career Corner. Prasanthi, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It was a
All
pleasure.
right. Well, and we'll see, hopefully we'll see you soon, and we'll see everybody else on the next one.